Steelers GM Omar Khan said this week at the NFL Combine that extending the young players that are currently on the Steelers roster is a top priority heading into the 2026 offseason. This is what Omar Khan had to say about that.
I think to when your question is, we're in good cap shape, so we have the flexibility to maybe do some things that might not be normal in people's eyes, but we have that flexibility. So the key is just keep as many of our good players under contract and locking them up. That's important. I really believe we have a good young nucleus of guys that are deserving of second contracts.
So today on Steelers Talk, we're going to be breaking down every player that the Pittsburgh Steelers could potentially extend this offseason, talk about the merits of extending or choosing maybe to not extend that player, and talk about some possibilities for the Pittsburgh Steelers here as they have some pretty decent players that are, looking for that second contract here with the black and gold that could be locked up for the long-term future. Now, before we get into the content today, you guys have been asking for just a channel logo t-shirt on this channel for quite a while. Well, now we have finally gotten that here on our website. You guys can get it today for just $24.99 at chatsports.com/Steelers Talk. This t-shirt, we've been waiting for a while to get this done with our bosses here at Chat Sports, and we finally, with our other merch pushes, with our Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day stuff, has been fantastic. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. So now we have gotten the green light to just do our Steelers Talk logo on a t-shirt for you guys. Again, it's only $24.99 on our website right now, chatsports.com/Steelers Talk. It helps out the channel, so make sure you guys go check out that link. It's down there in the comments and description of today's show if you want to get a Steelers Talk t-shirt today. All right, so let's start out our list here with somebody that wouldn't be a second contract player, but is somebody that I think would be a good player to extend this offseason. That is kicker Chris Boswell. As we know, Acrisure Stadium is one of the toughest places in the NFL to kick and kick consistently, and Boswell has been able to master that environment as one of, if not the best kicker in the National Football League, at least in my opinion. And right now, Spotrac is projecting his market value for his next contract extension at 3 years and about $20 million over the course of those 3 years, so about $6.5 million per season. I think that is more than worth it to retain a kicker of this caliber, especially when our home stadium is as difficult to kick in as it is. So I think this one's a no-brainer for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I do expect this one to come down the pike at some point this offseason. But then another one that I think is probably on our way here in terms of an extension is Joey Porter Jr., the former second-round pick out of Penn State, that really solidified himself, in my opinion, as this team's CB1 last season, where, he cut out a lot of the holdings and DPIs that had kind of plagued his career in the early years of his career. I think he did a really good job taking that next step. He's one of the premier man coverage erasers in the National Football League. He's not necessarily the best zone defender in the world, but in every NFL defense, if you want to have an elite NFL defense, you got to have this guy with the long arms, the physicality, the guy that can play press man coverage so that you can rotate coverage away from him. And the Steelers have one of those guys, in my opinion, in Joey Porter Jr., who has shown now that he can just straight up take away number one receiving threats. I mean, just look at his playoff performance against Nico Collins. It was really one of the only bright spots in that football game was Joey Porter Jr. shutting down Nico. And I do expect him to get paid like a legit CB1 this offseason by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, what does that look like? Well, right now, the top of the market is set at $30 million per season. We could see Joey Porter Jr.'s contract get up to that level, but I also think that we could also see it somewhere in the range of 25 to 30, somewhere in that range there. J.C. Horn is currently third on the list with $25 million per season, so I could see Joey Porter Jr. kind of get in between that Sauce and Stingley number and where J.C. Horn ended up for the Carolina Panthers. Now, like I said, guys, I do bet that Joey Porter Jr. is going to get at least that $25 million per season because by the end of that 4-year period, guys, like he's probably not even going to be in the top 10 anymore in terms of, overall APY. So I would consider him a top 10 corner in the National Football League right now. And I think that he deserves to get paid like a top 5 corner right now. Maybe not give him a record-setting contract. I'm sure that's probably what Joey would like to get, but I guess we'll just have to see where the number kind of gets here this offseason. But make no mistake, I know the Steelers are going to want Joey Porter Jr. locked up for the long-term future. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comments section. Joey Porter Jr. is a top 10 corner in the NFL right now. Give me a T for true or give me an F for false. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Harry's. Well, I tell you about Harry's today. Give me a T for true or F for false. And guys, life is all about continual improvement. That includes the products that we use every single day. Your phone is practically a supercomputer in your pocket. Cars can park and even drive themselves now. And your headphones can cancel outside noise like magic. But your razor is likely still flimsy, overpriced, and stuck back in 2008. That's where our friends at Harry's Plus come in. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and a weighted metal handle, which is Harry's heaviest handle ever for added control and comfort. It feels like an expensive shave without having to break the bank for it. Well, with Harry's Plus, each blade is honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly at the root without tugging. Blade spacing is optimized to glide smoothly and avoid clogging. Every cartridge includes a lubricating strip with aloe and vitamin E to calm skin while you shave. But maybe the best part about Harry's Plus is how affordable it is, guys. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany, which means no outsourcing and no middlemen. And because they control the entire process from steel to shelf, they keep costs low and pass the savings on to you. And if you don't love your shave with Harry's Plus, Harry's is going to make it right with you, no questions asked. Their risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. And just to show you guys that I actually use and love Harry's products, I've been using them since college. I brought my Harry's Plus razor to show you guys today. I also use their shaving gel and then their post-shave balm. It smells terrific, and it just absolutely works perfectly with their razor blades as well. So for a limited time only, our listeners get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer, and after your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Big thank you to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now let's talk about the big guy here, Darnell Washington, the freak unicorn himself. And, you know, I think that this is certainly somebody that Omar Khan loves on this football team, and he's going to prioritize getting an extension done with this offseason. Here's GM Omar Khan with the status on Darnell Washington's injury and wanting him to be back next year.
Yeah, I mean, his arm's fine, by the way. No, should be no restrictions, no issues. It's just him, who he is, you know. And I expect him to get even better. And he had more opportunities too. A tough evaluation. I'll take 20 of them. He's a guy we want here long term.
Now, looking at the tight end market here and what Darnell Washington could end up getting. Now, you see the 2 guys that are currently on the Steelers roster there at the tail end of that, getting about $12 million per season APY. I could see Darnell Washington certainly usurping what Freiermuth and Jonnu were able to get from the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially with the NFL cap number going up. I can definitely see Washington getting at least $12.5 million per season. It could even get up to like $15 million per season, depending on the market and all that different stuff and what the Steelers are willing to pay to retain Darnell Washington. And obviously Darnell's a unique skill set with his size, his athleticism, his ability to make tough catches as well in traffic. He showed that ability last year. His yak ability. I mean, he is a truly unique presence as a blocker, as a receiver. And I know the Pittsburgh Steelers view him very, very valuably, and I know that they're going to want to keep him around. So I would certainly expect this one to get done as well. But one that's a little bit more of a question mark to me that I could see get done, but I could also see the Steelers saying, you know what, we're going to wait a year to see if we want to give him a second contract, is Keanu Benton, the defensive tackle out of Wisconsin a few years ago, the 2nd-round pick in the same draft class as Joey Porter Jr. And as a nose tackle, which is where Benton played under Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin, that was, to me, a classic Tomlin-Austin kind of miscasting, where he was always somebody that should have played 4-eye or 3 technique or 5 technique. Instead, they put him right in the middle there and put him at nose tackle and asked him to take on double teams teams, and he just can't anchor guys. Like, that is the biggest weakness in Keanu Benton's game as a player, is he doesn't really anchor against double teams and in the run game, and it's been a big liability for the Steelers' run defense. So as a nose tackle, absolutely no way, in my opinion, is Keanu Benton worth an extension. However, what he does do well, disruption, getting into the backfield, winning with quickness, doing all that different stuff, and being a disruptor, that fits perfectly as like Cam Hayward's replacement at the other 4-eye position. Obviously, you drafted Derek Harmon to be one of those 4-eye defensive, 3-4 defensive ends, whatever you guys want to call it. But I think Keanu Benton with Cam Hayward likely, heading towards retirement either this offseason or next, I think Benton could be that long-term solution at that other 3-4 defensive end spot. And then you could go out and get a legitimate nose tackle to plug in the middle. And absolutely, Keanu Benton, with his level of disruption, his athleticism, he can absolutely be worth a contract extension for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, you take a look at the defensive tackle market, and obviously it's a pretty expensive position if you want to pay top dollar. It's not quite as expensive as edge rushers, obviously. We know how much TJ Watt is getting paid, but this is certainly something where if he asks for $20+ million, that would be what the Steelers would have to pay him, and it would be a little bit of a risk if they decide to keep him at nose tackle, in my opinion. So it's definitely an interesting situation here for Keanu Benton. We haven't really seen him play that 4-eye position enough to really say for sure that he'd be worth the money. So this would be a little bit of a projection if you give him an extension this offseason. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Should the Steelers invest $20+ million per season in Keanu Benton with a contract extension this offseason? Give me a yes or no down there in the comments section. Let me know what you guys think about Keanu down there in the comments. All right, so now let's talk about a couple players that I personally don't think are going to get extended, but theoretically they could, and that's Nick Herbig, the edge rusher, and Patrick Queen, the off-ball linebacker. And the reason why I think Herbig likely doesn't get extended is because you're already paying TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith a crap ton of money. You don't want to pay your number 3 edge rusher that's on the field for less than 25 snaps a game big money. That's just not a good allocation of resources, and I don't see the Steelers parting ways with TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith. So I actually think Herbig is more likely to be traded this offseason than extended, and that brings me no joy, by the way, guys. I would rather trade TJ Watt and extend Nick Herbig as opposed to trading Herbig and keeping Watt. But I just think, knowing the way the Steelers operate, they're very loyal to their star players. I really, really doubt the Steelers trade TJ Watt this offseason. And if Herbig is serious about wanting to be a full-time starter and getting paid a big-time contract this offseason, something's got to give here, and unfortunately I think the decision from the Steelers is going to be to trade Nick Herbig and not extend him. But then when it comes to Patrick Queen, I actually think Queen has a decent chance of being on the roster next year, but I don't think that he's going to get extended. I think that the Steelers would be kind of foolish, honestly, to bank on him being better in Patrick Graham's defense. Now, you take a look at the numbers from him last year according to Pro Football Focus in terms of the grading, and obviously PFF grading is not gospel. I want to put that up front. But when you are getting paid at the level that Patrick Queen is getting paid as an off-ball linebacker, being the 80th ranked overall graded linebacker in football is not particularly great. Having a missed tackle rate of over 20% and being top 10 worst in the league out of over 100 linebackers in the game is just absolutely atrocious. So, this is something that definitely needs to get better if the Steelers are going to retain him and pay him the amount of money that he is slated to make next year. But I do think that there is a reasonable expectation here that he could be better in Patrick Graham's defense than he was under Mike Tomlin and Teryl Austin. Obviously, that system under the previous regime here in Pittsburgh was notorious for not getting the most out of their linebackers. Robert Spillane was a rotational third guy here in Pittsburgh. He goes to Las Vegas. He turns into one of the better starting linebackers in football. Right? Same thing goes for Devin Bush, who was terrible here under Teryl Austin. Then he goes to Cleveland, and now he's going to get a big contract in free agency. Patrick Queen was an all-pro in a legitimately well-run defense there with Mike McDonald in Baltimore a couple years ago. That's why he got the big contract here. You inject him into Mike Tomlin and Teryl Austin's scheme, poof, he's not a good football player anymore. So maybe with the injection of a better defensive coordinator that puts him in better positions to succeed, Patrick Queen, could return to maybe even all-pro form. He's a hell of an athlete. He's a great blitzer. He's not bad at football. I just think he was really put in some poor situations under Mike Tomlin and Teryl Austin from a schematic standpoint. But with that said, you probably don't want to bank on that, with an extension. Like, you don't want to give him a 2-3 year extension and pay him a shit ton of money, and then, he's just as bad in Patrick Graham's defense as he was under Mike Tomlin and Teryl Austin, and then you're on the hook for multiple years of Patrick Queen. So I think the best strategy when it comes to Queenie this year is probably to keep him around, just because I don't see any immediate options available in free agency or the draft that's for sure going to be better than Patrick Queen in 2026, but you don't extend him. You have him play out that final year of his contract. Maybe you draft a developmental off-ball linebacker this year to eventually replace him, and then in 2027, you can reevaluate, but likely you probably let Patrick Queen hit the open market after one more year here in Pittsburgh. But then we'll finish up today's show here with 3 more possibilities in terms of extensions. Dylan Cook played really well at left tackle for the Steelers last year. Now, with an upcoming competition in camp with Broderick Jones, I feel like they want to see how that plays out before they, give anybody an extension of any kind. And I think they want to, spend this next year evaluating Cook before giving him a big contract. But, that's certainly a possibility. I would say Brandon Echols only has 1 more year on his deal. If they really like him, they could give him a team-friendly extension if he wants to stay around long-term. And then Spencer Anderson, who kind of played that elephant jumbo tight end last year, if they love him in that role and they want to use him in the same way under Mike McCarthy, I could see him maybe getting a team-friendly extension as well, but probably more on the unlikely side with these 3 players, if you're asking me. But let me know, over or under, down there in the comment section. Will the Pittsburgh Steelers have over or under 3.5 contract extensions this offseason? So if you think they're going to have 4 or more extensions this offseason, type O for over, or type U if you think they have 3 or less extensions. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section, and that'll be it for our first video here on Steelers Talk today. It's a big one at the NFL Combine today, guys, as quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, they're doing their press conferences, all that different stuff. Later today, Ponzi and I will be going live on our only Steelers Talk live show of the week. That'll start at 6 p.m. Eastern Time later this afternoon, unless we get breaking news. And we'll talk about everything that Ty Simpson and Drew Aller and all these guys are saying about the Pittsburgh Steelers in their meetings. Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate all met with the Steelers as well. So we're going to be talking about that on the live show here tonight, guys. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button to never miss any of our content here on Steelers Talk.